what exactly is account security? So account security is essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's keeping your account secure so that you don't get compromised. And your account is obviously a super valuable asset, right? You've worked really hard to build it. You're not going to leave your car out on the street unlocked. You're not going to leave your house unlocked. Those are valuable assets. Your account is also a valuable asset. So you want to make sure it's secure, it's protected. So how does account compromise happen? And you'll notice I'm saying compromise. You guys might not usually use that word. I think a lot of people say hacked, but a hack is actually what happens when infrastructure sort of gets attacked by an outside force and maybe a lot of accounts get hacked. Compromise is what we say when, like, essentially your account gets taken over because someone got a hold of the credentials. You've sort of allowed someone to compromise it. So this can happen a few different ways. So one of the ways is phishing. We're going to talk a little bit more about phishing in a moment. But phishing is when someone is pretending to be a legitimate organization in order to get a hold of sensitive information from you, get a hold of your account credentials. Another way that you can get compromised is by having a weak password, right? You could, if you have a password that's like your dog's name or ABC123, something really simple, you're making it much easier for somebody to compromise your account. So you want to make sure you have a secure password. You want to use a unique combination of letters and numbers. And you might even want to use a password generator app like 1Password or LastPass so that you can generate secure passwords and store them there. Another important thing about sort of this password piece is your email is the other half of your login, right? You want to have a strong password, but you also don't want to use your login email in a public place like in your account bio, as that's giving away half of your login credentials and can lead to your account being compromised. The last way is pretty simple way, but it's not logging out, right? You might log into a friend's phone or a public computer or a public device. And if you don't log out, you're leaving your account open to being compromised. And it's sort of important to note this whole section, even though I'm talking about Facebook and Instagram, a lot of this advice applies to your entire digital presence. You want to make sure generally that you're not allowing people to compromise your accounts anywhere. So you want to have a strong password. You want to make sure you log out when you can, and you want to make sure you don't get phished. So speaking of phishing, if you've ever seen messages like these are really great examples of phishing. And let's talk a little bit more about how to recognize that. So a few common ways we see phishing scams happen are these sort of examples, right? So account violations. So you might get messages saying, oh, your account's in violation of something, your account's going to get deactivated, and you need to hand over your credentials now so we can handle this, or click this link so that you can fix this. And that's a classic way that we've seen that some people can get phished. Another one is verification. We know verification is very valuable, and so sometimes people will offer verification as a way of getting you to respond, to engage, and to click a link or hand over your credentials so that they can phish you. We don't sell verification. Verification is not for sale, so always try to remember that so that you don't get phished with that. And then in a similar fashion, people might offer you growth, monetization, basically offering you things that are valuable and go, oh, of course, this is absolutely free. All you have to do is hand over your account credentials, click this link, and you'll get all this great stuff for absolutely nothing. And what we kind of say to that is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So how do you know when you're being phished? What are some of the signs you should activations, things like that. So I would be suspicious of any messages you get to that effect. They also will not, Facebook and Instagram are not going to ask you for sensitive information like your account credentials in a DM. So you shouldn't be giving that information out over DM. Also regarding email, you want to take a look at like the sender address and sort of the general format of the email, right? If it's coming from maybe a Gmail, maybe there's weird misspellings in the email address or in the email itself, I would keep an eye out. And you don't want to click any links really from anything that might be suspicious or anybody you don't know, because clicking a link can be one way that you can get your account compromised if it's from a bad actor. And then finally, anything overtly urgent, saying you have to do this now or else, that kind of thing is likely fake. So that's one tactic. It's kind of like a sales tactic, right? That people might use to get you to click something, to get you to act quickly without thinking. So if you're seeing that kind of urgency, pause for a minute, and check for those other signs to be like, should I be engaging with this? Should I be giving them this information? There actually are ways in product to be able to tell if Facebook and Instagram are sending you legitimate emails. We actually have tools for this, and they're tools I think that not a lot of people know about. I personally love them and use them myself. But in both Facebook and in Instagram, you can go into your settings. You can see here on the slide sort of the specifics, but you can go into your settings and you can see both on Instagram, you go in your privacy settings, emails from Instagram, and then same thing in Facebook. You can see emails from Facebook, and you can see basically a record of the emails that Facebook or Instagram has sent you, so you can verify that they are in fact legitimate. And in Facebook specifically, there are sort of two inboxes. One is going to be your security emails, and the other one's going to be other emails. So maybe you filed a report or something, and those might show up there. One thing away from today's safety school, please let it be. I'm going to turn on two-factor authentication if I don't have it on already. And two-factor authentication is really the best way that you can prevent your account getting compromised. And essentially, it forces you to have both your password as well as another device to log into your account when you log in for the first time on like a new device in a new location, things like that. So basically, when you set up two-factor authentication, you will go into your security settings, you will turn on two-factor authentication, and you'll have the option to get a code sent to either your phone in a text or to an authenticator app like Duo. There's a whole bunch of different authenticator apps that you can use that you'll then have to enter in to confirm, hey, I got this code, and it's me. And the reason that's good is it's kind of like having two locks on your house, right? Like you both have to have that password, you have to have this code to get in, and it makes it much, much harder for hackers to get into your account. One sort of actually important thing I want to add here is you're going to see these two options and you might ask like, which option should I use? Thinking about texting versus third-party authentication. Texting in a lot of ways can be simpler, right? Like we all get texts, we all have a phone. Into an Instagram account, it's actually a little bit easier to set it up. We have actually a special, way that you can set this up with multiple people with their authenticator apps. So something to think about. One might be a little more simple, one might be more secure. Honestly, either is better than nothing. So think about, what's going to work for you and your specific setup. The other piece of two-factor authentication that you're going to get when you're doing all this setup, and it's really not that hard. I know talking a lot about it because it's important. It's really not that hard, but you will get a set of recovery codes. So in addition to setting up your texting, your third-party authenticator will give you a set of recovery codes that you can use. Maybe you don't have your phone with you. Maybe your phone got lost or stolen. You can use those recovery codes to log in instead of getting your text. So when you get those recovery codes, one really, really important piece of this is to save those somewhere safe, wherever you think is best, but somewhere that's secure and safe and where you'll remember where they are. And then the last piece, so if your phone is lost or stolen, there's a couple of different things that you can do. One, you can use those recovery codes we just talked about to get into your account. Another thing you can do is if you have your account logged in on a trusted device, so maybe you don't have your phone, but you have your home computer and you're logged in there, you can go into your settings there, change your two-factor number, so that you can get in. And then, of course, the last thing to do is if for some reason none of that is working, you can go through our sort of help center flows to get access back to your account. So you guys have made it through account security, and going to give you the quick sort of cheat sheet recap here. So number one, as I said, if you take away one thing, turn on two-factor. It really, really helps protect your account. The second one is use a strong password. Again, make sure it's a unique combination of letters and numbers. Use a password generating app, if you want to. It's a great way. I use one personally. The next thing to remember always in terms of phishing is don't click suspicious links. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. And also, don't give people you don't know access to your account. For those of you who have multiple people accessing Facebook account, Instagram account, you want to keep an eye on who has access, who has admin access to your page, all that kind of stuff, because if there are folks in there that you don't know that well, it could get compromised through them, right? And then the last one is to really stay on top of all this stuff and kind of perform maintenance on it. Not to go back to the car analogy, but like you would a car, right? You take your car in for oil changes every 6 months or once a year, however frequently. You kind of want to do the same with your account security. You want to change your password, check who has access, make sure your 2FAC is on, all that good stuff periodically so that you can keep that account secure and prevent it from being compromised. Okay, so now that you've heard me talk for a while about account security, we're going to see if you guys were paying attention with a little quiz question. So the question is, which of these would not make a good password? A, your dog's name. B, a unique and random combination of letters and numbers. Or C, a password created and stored in a password generating app. And if you thought the answer was A, your dog's name, you would be correct. We want to stay away from simple passwords with personally identifiable information. So